Good evening and welcome to Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District Number 13 School Board Meeting for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2016. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and welcome again. And Member Landwehr, if you would, please call the roll.
Sure. Samurai?
Here.
Severson?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Larkin?
Here.
Palmer?
Here.
Landwehr here. Superintendent Kelly?
Here.
Thank you. Our mission statement, Columbia Heights Public Schools creates worlds of opportunity for every learner in partnership with supportive small-town communities by challenging all to discover their talents, unleash their potential, and develop tools for lifelong success. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. And first up would be the approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Maddie, thank you.
Second.
Laura, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Announcements. September 5th, Monday is Labor Day. The district office is closed. September 6th is Tuesday, first day of school for students. September 13th, Tuesday at 5 p.m., we'll have a subcommittee on policy meeting. Also on the 13th at 7 p.m., we'll have a regular school board meeting. On the 20th at 5 p.m., there'll be a school board listening session. Also on the 20th, there'll be at 5:30, there'll be a school board work session. And then on September 27th at 7 p.m., there'll be a regular school board meeting here in the community room. As far as for correspondence, Superintendent Kelly, is there any correspondence this evening?
Mr. Chair, members, there's none at this time.
Okay, thank you. Next is communication to the board. Citizens and employee representatives. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Anyone here that wishes to address the board? Anyone other than those that have to? All right, I don't see any, so we'll move forward. Next up is the consent agenda. Included is the personnel report. Could you get a motion to move that forward, please?
So moved.
Laura.
Second.
Molly, thank you. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, I have not researched any of or reviewed any of these personnel actions, so I'm going to abstain since we are approving the action required to implement them tonight.
Laura.
We have certainly heard your concerns, and I just want to state that I support the report.
Any other discussion?
I actually just attended the MSBA Phase 1 and 2 training with Hala and actually asked questions about this. I'm just curious as to the data privacy stuff. I actually asked a question specifically pertaining to this because I was hoping to find outside source about all of this. And it seems that this is standard protocol from what I hear, and me gaining personal knowledge of why somebody, for example, was taking leave or something is actually an invasion of data privacy. So can you help me to understand what you're hoping to know to be able to approve the personnel
I also
report?
took Phase 1 training, and I don't believe I was taught that, so I don't know. I'm not understanding quite what.
I
what's
mean, we
being
could
said.
sit down and I can show you the actual, they physically, or I could share it with the board, right? That's how we do that?
Good, Superintendent.
The sheet of paper that said what information we're actually privy to as school board members and what we're not, and that was definitely in the what we're not.
And I know there's a report from the school district attorney saying that if we were authorized, that the board authorized looking into personnel records, that we could do that. So that's conflicting information on what you've learned. So my whole concern is voting on something I don't have personal knowledge of, and that's where I'm coming from.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess I would concur with Member Palmer is that I certainly am not interested in violating any data privacy. I have confidence in our staff to make the decisions that are important, and I don't feel the need to know why a teacher has changed from one classroom or building to another. That's an administrative responsibility, and I don't feel the need to have to sit down and ask those questions or be informed on that. So I support the report as well, so.
I would just direct the board to the statutes which place the personnel matters in the purview of the school board, not the administration. Administration derives its power from the school board. I believe that it is incumbent on the school board to investigate everything it votes on. Otherwise, we're just simply rubber stamping, and that's not, I don't support that.
I'm very uncomfortable with the term rubber stamping. We have one employee that we oversee, and we need, and that would be our superintendent.
I understand that. Actually, if you look at the statutes, we have oversight over the entire district, the care management control of the school district, and I don't have the
Through
statute.
our superintendent.
Well, that's a matter of interpretation.
As it always is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my wondering is, if you did have access to that information, do you feel like you have enough expertise in the area to be able to make a determination about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate?
I would certainly defer as much as possible to the administration, but I think it's incumbent on the school board to at least review it. That's our role as the school board.
And I want to say, I've heard your concerns week after week. I attended MSBA training last year, fairly recently as well, and heard the same information that Addie was reporting on tonight. I think that our district does a good job of giving us the information we need, but I am not interested in looking further into these decisions, like, as Chair Larkin said, one school to another, or maternity leave, or whatever those cases might be. That's not something I'm interested in looking further into.
And actually, at MSBA Phase 1 training, I asked the question because I wanted to know the intricacies of how this goes. Because my experience was in charters, and they're slightly different. And that was the answer she gave us, that this is how it is, and if a certain board member has specific questions, that they should just talk to the superintendent, and then there are ways and processes where they could pull out that information, and I don't know the legal aspect of how it goes, but there are ways for a certain board member to be able to access that with legal constraints, but that it's normal for boards to approve this. That's what they said when I asked.
And they also specifically said that if it ever rises to the level that the board needs to be involved, that we should be, and we've seen that here in the closed sessions and whatnot. But typically, standard procedure is that we do not.
And I certainly would like to look into these matters, but we've heard in school board meetings that the superintendent is not willing to share information on personnel, so we're kind of stuck.
And I support that decision
Yeah.
fully.
I don't think the superintendent is unwilling. I think the superintendent is legally bound not to share it.
Well, I think we need clarity on that.
I believe I have all the clarity to be able to support the report as written.
And I think we went through this once before, and we actually did ask for an opinion from the school district's attorney, and it was, to me, it was quite clear that, number one, it isn't unwilling, it's unable to based on data privacy, and that we run a high risk, the entire board does, of violating data privacy, and I'm not prepared to do that, so.
And I don't think that's a fair summary of the report. If you go back and read it.
And to use your words, that's your interpretation.
Sure.
And you're entitled to that, as I am mine and everyone else's. But when you talk about that process, I guess that's what I wanted to touch on, at least for the public's understanding, is that there is a process in place, but there has to be a very specific reason why a board member would need to know that, and if it rolls to the data privacy piece.
And it all comes back to what's legal.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
what she was
wasn't
emphasizing. It all
that I
comes back to
didn't-
what's legal, and I don't know what that process
And
is.
it wasn't that you didn't understand that, I wanted to clarify for the
Yes.
camera
It was,
purposes.
the answer was certainly complicated.
Yeah,
getting
her
to that
answer
point.
was
Yep.
hard to understand. That's what we gathered from it, and, yeah.
Thank you. I respect all your opinions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the personnel report? Hearing none, those in favor say, the consent agenda, actually. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Abstains, motion carries. Discussion reports and information items. Reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Start with you tonight, Ted, if you're okay with that.
Not a lot has happened since the last school board meeting. I've talked to constituents, and I'm looking forward to the new teacher festivities coming up really soon, and the staff.
Thank you. What?
I really didn't do a whole heck of a lot, although I did have a little impromptu kind of a meeting with Hala last week, and thank you very much. And next time we'll actually sit down and have coffee or something, you know, instead of just standing in the parking lot for an hour talking. But thank you for giving me the time. I appreciate it. It was nice to get to know you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Molly?
Nothing much on my end either, except sorting through a lot of mail from 3 different schools, so that's about it. Looking forward to the school year.
Yep. Same is true for me. Have spoken to some constituents, some members of the community, and I'm also really excited to welcome the new teachers. And by the time we meet again, all the students will be back. So it's a big couple of weeks here.
Yeah. So, ditto. Had that impromptu meeting that lasted for a while. It was good to get to know you some more on a personal level. And I'm really excited about attending some of the new teacher stuff. I have to find out what I can attend because I just started back to work, but it's exciting.
Okay, thank you. I as well don't have a lot of activities. I had an opportunity to sit down and meet with Member Severson. Thank you for your time. A couple conversations with the superintendent, and I as well have had several conversations with constituents. And I also look forward to the start of welcoming everyone back and the excitement of getting the school year started again. So, superintendent's report.
Well, it's a busy time of year, so I do have a few things to report, but I'm going to have a shortened report. Directors, principals, assistant principals, and district coordinators and I spent an entire day actually in this room focused on academic achievement, closing the achievement gap, and action planning around literacy. We're doing that in preparation for taking the results of this meeting to the staff during the welcome back activities, and then we will also share that with the board a little later. So it was a very productive, long day. Thanks to everyone involved. The directors and principals and I participated in a 2-day administrative retreat. And this is something that we do every year. And we covered a variety of topics, but the major focuses of that retreat included the Medal of Honor activities, academic return on investment, which we'll be reporting out to the board at a later date, safety and security procedures, American Indian education, and issues of equity and race. And then the district Medal of Honor team met with a representative from the Medal of Honor Society to tighten the details and on the coordination of upcoming events. Special thanks to the City of Columbia Heights Police Department for joining us at that meeting. There'll be more of this coming out, but it was a really special meeting. We're looking forward to all the events around that. I would like to say not only are we blessed in this district to have a voluntary free pre-K program, but we did have the lottery, and the free all-day pre-K 4 lottery at Valley View was extended to August 29th. Seats are still available for half-day, 5-day-a-week free pre-K 4 programming at Highland and North Park Elementary Schools. Space is limited, so please enroll your child at our placement center to guarantee the free enrollment for the 2016-17 school year. Since we can afford this opportunity through state funding to our littlest scholars, we just really want to get it out on the airwaves that we're still taking applicants for those programs. So please enroll through the placement center. The district is also looking for Minnesota Reading Corps tutors. So if you're listening out there, you can go to the district website for more information if you're thinking that's something that you would like to be involved in as well. I attended a chair meeting prior to this meeting with the chair and vice chair, and had conversations with multiple school board members regarding assorted issues throughout the week, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your time. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Next up is the employee handbook. And, Lindsey?
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This is an annual event bringing forward the employee handbook. There was very minimal changes this school year. It was more just updating contact information, making sure the policies were the new revised policies. It'll come forward at the next board meeting for an action item, and it has been reviewed by our district attorney. So I'm very confident it's ready to go once it's board approved. So tonight I'm just here to answer any questions. There was a copy in your board packet.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Next up is the employee handbook. And, Lindsey?
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This is an annual event bringing forward the employee handbook. There was very minimal changes this school year. It was more just updating contact information, making sure the policies were the new revised policies. It'll come forward at the next board meeting for an action item, and it has been reviewed by our district attorney. So tonight I'm just here to answer any questions. There was a copy in your board packet.
There are no real significant changes to the
No.
handbook. Does anybody have any questions for Lindsay?
Just a comment, this just shows how detailed the school board does get involved in even reviewing employee handbooks, so just want to make that point.
I would just like to comment that the reason we put the employee handbook in front of the board is for an acknowledgement that they have seen the handbook, but it is also for our own protection that that it aligns with policy, which is the board's purview. So you'd be looking at that employee handbook through the policy lens and the governance, not the management end. So that would be the view of the board on this.
Lindsay, does the handbook and the changes that you've made, are they in sync with anything that would be policy related that the board should be concerned about?
All the policies that are involved in here have all been updated through the last couple months, and they're all the new policies that are in the handbook.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Placement Center update. The board will be presented with an update on the Placement Center. I believe Nicole and Victoria.
Chair Larkin, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board, I'm delighted that Victoria Campaverde, who is our very sturdy and capable cultural liaison who runs the Placement Center, took time out of her busy schedule. She's very active not only here in Columbia Heights Schools, but in the community of Columbia Heights where she lives. I asked her last minute, I said, I'd love for you to come and speak about the opening of the Placement Center to the board. And she said, what time is it at? I'm really busy tonight. So thank you for coming. I just want, before I turn it over to Victoria, I just want to reiterate what Superintendent Kelly said, and that is that our 4-year-old pre-K program that is at all of our schools, and we need more kids to fill up those slots, all enrollment will be going through the Placement Center, just like our K-12 students do now. So they really are in every way our littlest scholars who are part of our family of E12. So it made a little bit more work for Victoria, but she's happy to see the little 4-year-olds come in with their parents. So I'd just like Victoria to talk a little bit about the opening of the Placement Center, what day we opened, and what's going on.
Okay, we opened August 1st, and it's a busy time of the year. And we have, like today, we have 25 packets with maybe a family with 7 students, and many students are coming from Minneapolis, Columbia Heights and Minneapolis. And the nice thing about what they say when they are coming, they have a family, maybe older children who are in Columbia Heights, and they have a great experience in Columbia Heights and want to bring the same experience for the younger children. And then another family from maybe Somali community or Latino community who they, by mouth, they told them this is a nice place, a safe place to be, and we try always to, they feel welcome to the placement center, and working with Bonnie, who support. She's given me a lot of support this time of the year. And my team is working with Marcia Walker for the special education. She's helping with the IPs and the evaluations, and Jane Riordan with the EL. But it's amazing how many families are really excited to come to Columbia Heights, and great things they say. They really want the students have this experience here, and they impress us with the presentation we have when they are coming, and we give the folder with the brochures and give the calendar, and then we give the pathway, the school supply list, everything ready for them to be prepared for the first day of school. Yeah, that's, I think they feel like, and they ask me, is a private school? No, it's not a private school, it's public school, but we try to give the best service.
Well, the customer service starts in the Placement Center. Last year, we had 1,100 kids join our district, and they all come with their families through the Placement Center, and I couldn't be more delighted to have Victoria as the first face that many people see in our district when they come enroll. So, and she always follows up with families too, by the way, once they leave her door.
I enjoy when they call me sister. Yeah, sister.
So, thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I have a logistical question here. How do you, how do you make enough room to be able to, I'm thinking that it's a momentous task with, with things like the adventure clubs and stuff out of the same building, and how do you?
They get creative, especially the next 2 weeks. 3
Yes.
weeks will be very
Yeah.
busy. And if it's a private conversation that needs to be held, we do have a back
Okay.
area in the placement center where if it's something sensitive, the family could separate out.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, Victoria is wonderful at running. It's like a captain in the ship. She's got this family over here and this family over here and a
And
couple families out in the hall. And
Yeah. And some family, they don't know how to read and write. We have to help them to fill it up papers too, because they are low educated, and
Right.
yeah, but we find a way. So many years working, and we find a way.
Oh, I know you do. I'm just trying to figure out how it all works. Maybe I can learn something here. So thank you.
Yeah.
I have just heard comments from the community, how nice it is to have one place to go to check in and be placed. So from a customer service standpoint, that's a great concept.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll be back. I don't know if Victoria, she might be busy, but I'll be back to give you a final report in the early winter to say how many people came through and how many families that they helped. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up on the agenda is the National School Board Association conference information. The NSBA Annual Conference is March 25th through 27th of 2017. It's being held in Denver, Colorado this year, per policy 214, out-of-state travel by school board members, prior approval of school members to attend the National School Board Conference. What we did 3 years ago, actually set up a rotation we can send up to 2 people each year, so we set up a rotation to make sure that it was fair that everybody got an opportunity. Last year, we, as a board, elected to not send anyone to the conference just based on some of the budget constraints and the extra elections and things like that. So what we did, the decision was that the rotation for 2016, we moved to 2017. So at this point, and I think everybody's has seen the rotation, or technically right now, the 2 people that would be initially offered to go would be Hala and Natty, or Natty's position, that spot. So this is as much, we're going to have to approve it at some point, but I wanted to bring it forward and at least give some information about the rotation, and then if there's any questions or any conversations that we needed to have, now would be a good time to do that. So, are there any questions? Okay, well, we will move right into our action items then. First up is the long-term facilities maintenance revenue, and Director Holmgren.
Chair Larkin, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Good evening. Last week at our board meeting, we talked about the 10-year long-term facility maintenance revenue budget that we need to submit to the state of Minnesota to receive our revenue. We talked a little bit about it tying to our 10-year facilities plan. And again, this is a budget as we go forward. Budget's just really a snapshot in time. So as priorities change, this will probably change a little bit as we go through the years. But for this first year, our year we just started, 2017, we're looking at spending about $685,000 and bringing in $700. So within budget of the money we get, and I just need your approval to send this to the state of Minnesota.
Anyway, I ask for a motion to move that forward,
So
please.
moved.
Second.
Seconded by Laura. Discussion?
I think you told us at the last school board meeting that these are just planned projects that we're just basically reorganizing them to comply with the new statutory.
Yes, that's correct. This is a change in funding from the state of Minnesota where we're phasing out the old health and safety revenue we've talked about for many, many, many years. Now that and our deferred maintenance is all tied in now together in this long-term facility maintenance revenue. So it's two programs put into one. In this first year, it's exactly the same dollars that we always got before. Going forward, we get a little increase, which would be helpful to our aging buildings. A lot of this is based on how old our buildings are. So as our buildings age each year, we get a little bit more to take care of them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I seem to recall, because we did this over at 916 as well, is that they require that this all be projected out for 10 years.
Yeah, the state of Minnesota.
So it's a required report.
Required 10-year budget and required the school board to pass a motion accepting that budget. Otherwise, we don't get our funding.
I'm glad you did all the groundwork a few years back, so you already had this in place.
Yeah, we actually, our 10-year plan, we actually did update this last year, so we have a new, it's pretty close to what we need to do.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Are the health and safety projects still, in this budget, still required by the state?
Yes, the health and safety portion of this funding, it covers all of our testing. We would look at especially our fire alarm systems, look at our elevators, look at our boilers, all those types of testing things that we have to do on a yearly basis. This funding covers all those types of costs.
Okay. And with the deferred maintenance, would you say that would end up saving us money if we address these issues according to this plan?
Yeah, if we wait for things to break, it costs quite a bit more. If you remember a couple of years ago when we had that large steam pipe break out in the parking lot, that was a big expense to us. As we can plan ahead, it costs us a lot less dollars to do the maintenance on those.
Okay, thank you.
Else? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. And finally, authorized persons for the Morgan Stanley account.
Yeah.
Bill?
This is something we always talk about in January when we reorganize, when the board comes together and reorganizes. In this case this year, if you remember, we had a resignation in the business office where my accountant has left, and we have now hired a new accountant. And I need him to be able to move money from our Morgan Stanley account to our checkbook. When we receive money from our county, so all the tax dollars that go to Anoka County go into this Morgan Stanley account, so we get some interest as we're waiting to use it. And then as we run through our payrolls, we have to move that money to our Northeast checking account to make payroll. So I'm just asking for authorization that myself and Mark Patterson have the ability to move that money between those two accounts.
Motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Second.
Molly and Ted. Discussion.
Why do we have two bank accounts for the district?
The checking account that we have at Northeast Bank is a checking account we've had there for very many, many, many years. But that's where we move all the money. So we deposit money and we write our checks, or our ACHs or our wires are going out to our vendors from that point. We don't get interest on that account.
Okay.
So we use two different accounts. One is Morgan Stanley, where when we receive, remember, during the year when you pay your taxes, you pay them twice a year, unless your house is in some type of escrow plan. But, so we get two big payments. If you remember, our levy for this year is, a little over $8 million. So all of a sudden, boom, 1st of June, I get $4 million from the county. So we don't need all that at once, so we no use putting it on a checking account. So we put it in this investment account, so we get as much interest we can on it until we need to use the funds. So it's kind of up and down. We get high and then low and then high and then low. But that's why we use the other accounts, just so we can get a little interest on the money we don't need right away.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Okay, thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Bill. Board topics. Do we have anything for board topics?
School starting soon.
Nope.
Yay!
School starts.
We
Okay.
get to see all the little ones going into the classes. That's going to be fun.
Hearing no further discussion on board topics, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:32.